Welcome to the second episode of me talking to you on Substack about NPB Nippon Professional Baseball. Some of you already know me from my old podcast, H10 Hanshin Tigers English News. Some of you may not, and this might be your first taste of my voice or of this podcast format with me. My name's Trevor. I also went by T-Ray when I was doing H10. You can still call me T-Ray if you want. And today I wanted to talk about the first round of the Nippon Professional Baseball playoffs, which is called the Climax Series First Stage. And I brought along somebody that I think you're going to enjoy hearing from, and somebody that has much more knowledge about the Pacific League than I do. So let's welcome to the show, Thomas.
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be talking baseball with you.
Absolutely. I mean, what's better than talking baseball with a fellow NPB fan, right?
Nothing.
Exactly, exactly. So, hey, I think most of my listeners, or I hope most of them are somewhat familiar with who I am and, how long I've been a Tigers fan and all that kind of stuff. Tell me about like where you're from, where you're living right now, and how long you've been an NPB fan. And yeah, let's just dig in a little bit to your history.
Sure. Yeah, I'm from the United States. Grew up in Connecticut, so the North. Grew up as a Yankees fan, and then I lived in Atlanta. Was reluctantly a Braves fan for a few years. Moved to Philadelphia and still root for the Phillies. So I'm kind of a dual Yankees Phillies fan, which is an interesting sort of combination. And then I moved to Tokyo about 5 years ago and had a hard time deciding on which team to root for. At first, thought I'd be a Golden Eagles fan because of the Masahiro Tanaka connection with the Yankees,
Right.
but I wasn't really sold on them. Then I went to a few games at the Tokyo Dome and at Jingu Stadium and at Sosa Marine Stadium, and then I decided on the Marines because I loved their atmosphere the best. And so I've been a die-hard Marines fan for I guess 3 seasons now.
That's awesome. Well, awesome in the sense that you found your team and it's not the Giants, but um,
Yeah. I don't think I could have rooted for the Giants. Growing up as a Yankees fan, it kind of is unfair, right? And then moving to Japan and picking the team with the most championships, I don't think I could do that to myself.
okay, fair enough, fair enough. But so you've been a Marines fan now, and obviously this year they finished in last place, so not to your liking at all. Um, r
No,
Refresh my memory now. How have they done in the past few years?
they were in second place in 2023. Made
Mhm.
it out of the first round of the Climax Series, and then came in third place last year and got bounced by the Fighters in Hokkaido.
There you go. Okay, so they're kind of on a bit of a downward trend here. Like they were in second, then third. They lost Roki, dropped to
They did.
sixth. I don't think that's the sole cause, and probably you don't either. And we can maybe talk about that another time. But
Sure.
they said goodbye to their manager today, right? Yoshi is out. And what's the latest rumors? Do you know who they might be bringing in as a replacement for next year?
Yeah, they're gonna go with Saburo.
Oh, okay. Very
Yeah,
popular player back in his playing days.
yes.
Yeah.
He was the second team manager for a few months, or I think last year, and then for half the season this year. And then beginning of June, he was promoted to first team head coach,
Hmm.
which is like kind of strategy coach, one step below manager. And
Right.
then I guess the management of Lotte loved what they saw from him, and they've decided to go with him as the head coach
Right on.
or as the
Well,
manager.
even though I'm not a Marines fan, I still wish you and the fandom and the team all the best in 2026. Obviously, there's nothing more to talk about with the Marines in 2025, except I'm curious to know who your favorite player is this year, and if you have a different all-time favorite, let us know about that as well.
Sure. For the Marines, my favorite player this year has to be Misho Nishikawa, first round draft pick. Just finished the season with 117 hits, most out of all the rookies. Led the Pacific League in doubles this year, and expectations were high for him. He hit over 400 in spring training and the preseason games,
Mhm.
but then struggled. Was hitting 150 through June, and then came back up, hit over 400 in June, and then ever since then he's been pretty much over 300. Finished the season with a 282 batting average, I believe. So, and his defense is
Nice.
great. So it's been really fun rooting for him.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, apparently he's got a great chance at Rookie of the Year this year in the Pacific. And my only, I guess, experience with him was that I saw him play for Team Japan against Team Europe. That would have been before the 2024 season. So he was
Wow.
still a college player at the time, and he just made
Yeah.
some outstanding plays in the field. And he also, I think he wrapped a double in that game as well. So I got a taste of what was to come. And I was obviously hoping my Tigers would pick him up, but with him being a first round pick, there's only so many first round picks to go around. And based on team need, obviously our team was not in need of a first round outfielder. So
Right.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that he's landed somewhere, that he's gotten a lot of playing time. The team was patient with him and that he did really well this year. What about prior to this year, or do you have like an all-time favorite Marines player?
But my all-time favorite is Katsuya Kakunaka.
Okay, reason?
Uh, I love his cheer song. I think it's got a great great melody and it's really catchy.
Hmm.
And then I think my second or third game I went to, he knocked a game-winning double. So, it's very easy to get me to be your fan. If you do something well when I go to see you, then I just decide to be a fan of yours.
Yeah, and the opposite is true too. And the reason I hate him is because the one Marines game I actually went to, the Tigers were down to the final out of the game, actually the final strike, and he was the batter, and the bases were loaded, and he hit a grand slam in the top of the ninth with two outs at Koshien. And
Wow.
basically, that was the end of the game. We did nothing in the bottom of the ninth. And so I was like, Kakunaka, I hate you. So, but in that, like I see, his hitting style. I see that he's been with the team for ages. And so I can respect that for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, he might be gone though.
Yeah, I
There's a lot of
heard.
there's a lot of rumors floating around about all these veteran Marines players and what's going to happen with them.
Yeah, it's that time of, I guess, as far as eras go, right? I mean, especially when you
Hmm.
got the changing of the guard with the managers, some of
Right.
the players that were given the extra long leash or the extra playing time or the automatic respect of a veteran don't necessarily have that with the new incoming manager. That said, Kakunaka, Ogino, and some of the rest of them, they did play alongside Saburo as teammates, correct?
Right. Yeah, they would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Kakanaka's been there since 20. Ogino's been there since at least 2010.
Hmm.
Kakanaka, I think, is the same time because they're around the same age. So yeah, they would have been teammates.
Right. Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about the 2025 season on the whole.
Sure.
Obviously, we're doing a first round playoffs preview, and so we know, or we will soon talk about those teams that made the playoffs. But give me your overall thoughts. Okay, let's actually talk about the Marines a little bit, seeing as they're your team.
Sure.
What went well? What went wrong this year?
What went well? They started this season 3-0, sweeping the Hawks in Fukuoka. That was the highlight of the season.
Okay.
Uh, and then they really struggled. Obviously, every month since then they've been in last place since the beginning of May. But there were a few bright spots. I touched on Nishikawa earlier, and they had some few young pitchers emerge. Haruya Tanaka, Yuto Kimura was another one.
Yeah,
So
didn't
there's
he
stuff.
have a no-hitter going into like pretty deep
The
into a game?
seventh inning recently, yeah,
That's
and
pretty
then
awesome.
I think he ended up being a complete game shutout, which was I think the first Marines one of this year.
Wow.
And then Atsuki Tanaichi, who's been around for a few years now, looked pretty lost halfway through the season, and then the last month or two, he's been on fire and finished with really good numbers. So
I
hopefully he can
noticed
keep
that
it
like his
going.
his strikeout numbers are just like through the roof.
Off the charts, yeah, and hopefully he can maintain it into next year and become the ace that the Marines need him to be.
Yeah, and then also there's talk that he might end up on Samurai Japan for the WBC, right?
Yeah, I think I saw on somewhere today, I think on X, that he was named to the provisional roster against what is the exhibition game next month
Right, yeah, yeah.
against Korea? Is that against Korea? I think up in Hokkaido. I think he's on that roster.
Okay, so yeah, that's a bright spot. And then what would you say is the team's biggest need heading into 2026? Is it the obvious? Is it offense?
It's everything, I think. I think offense definitely.
Okay.
I mean, they have their run differential this year was minus 109. So obviously their pitching was terrible, but they also couldn't score any runs. So I think their outfield seems pretty set. They have a lot of good young outfielders, and Fujiwara and Takabe have been there for a few years. They
Hmm.
seem pretty well entrenched. I think infield definitely. They don't have a first baseman. They don't have a third baseman. They don't really have a second baseman or a shortstop. So I think, yeah, definitely infielder is a big need for them.
Right. Yeah. Well, what happened to Yasuda? Is he not around anymore or
Oh, he's around. He has no power. He ended the season with 0 home runs.
ouch.
And even today, they had the closing ceremony for the season right after the game. And even Yoshi threw a little shade at Yasuda
No
because
way.
Tomosugi, the light hitting shortstop, hit
Uh-huh.
hit more home runs than him this year.
Oh, geez. Wow.
So he cracked a joke at Yasuda's expense.
That's funny. That's funny. Huh. Well, this might be as good a time as any to talk about the standings then. And as we've kind of mentioned, the Marines finished in last place, not only in the Pacific, but overall, correct? I think they finished below
Overall,
the Swallows as far as record,
they did. The Swallows,
to their shame.
after Murakami came back, they were able to crawl entirely out of the basement and finished what about 0.15 percentage points ahead of the Marines.
Right. So let's go through this and you can rattle off the PL and I'll do the CL. So we got the last place is the Marines and then in the Central it was the Swallows, so they still couldn't crawl out of the cellar of the Central. And then in fifth place in the Central were the Hiroshima Carp. Who was in fifth in the Pacific?
The Seibu Lions. So
Seibu
last year
Lions.
they were the worst in the league. Infamously fired Kaz Matsui halfway through the season. It started off strong this year, but still ended up in fifth place.
Yeah, and they're going to be losing at least one of their starters, if not two,
Two, yeah,
to
it's gonna
MLB,
be
right? So Kona
right.
Takahashi and then possibly Imai might be headed stateside. So doesn't bode too well for them.
No.
Fourth place, you've got in the Pacific,
Rakuten Eagles.
Rakuten Eagles, and then in the Central, it was the Chunichi Dragons. Some people are surprised they moved up two spaces. I think I only was because whenever I did my preseason predictions, I always overestimated them. And then this year, I didn't do a prediction show because I didn't have a podcast, but I said, screw it. I'm not picking them to finish anywhere but sixth until they prove me wrong. And they proved me wrong the one year that I did put them in sixth. So they got fourth place.
I think I saw someone else had them up in third place this year too. Maybe it was fifth place, but it wasn't
Yeah,
in the basement. But yeah.
they're a hard team to believe in. We'll put it that way. But they do have good pieces, and that's the thing. Like they actually are not a terrible team on paper. It's just
Hmm.
maybe execution. And until last year, it was management, and maybe Inoue, their new manager this year, is onto something. And maybe next year they. No, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. Let's just go to playoff teams. So today we're going to be talking about the third and second place teams. Obviously, we know that the winner in the Central was my Hanshin Tigers. The winner in Pacific was the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. And so the third
Yes.
and second place teams, and we'll get to the Pacific League first, right? Third place was,
The Orix Buffaloes.
right? And they will be heading up to Hokkaido to face the Nippon-Ham Fighters in round
Correct.
one. And in the
Yes.
Central, the Yomiuri Giants finished in third place, barely cracking 500. And they will be heading just down a couple of stops on the trains to Yokohama to face the Baystars, who finished in second place. So before we get into our previews, though, just in case some of our listeners aren't familiar with the NPB playoff system, let's talk about that because that has a lot of bearing on how we talk about this first round, especially. So I'll kind of take the reins here, but basically the third place team has the disadvantage of having to play all of the first round at the ballpark of the second place team. It's a best of three. So the second place team technically only has to win one and tie one because in the case of a tiebreaker like that, the second
Hmm.
place team moves on.
Right.
They got home field advantage and they win the tiebreaker automatically. And then whoever wins this first round matchup plays in the, well, I guess it'd be like the LCS of Major League Baseball, but it's called the final stage, Climax Series Final Stage. And that would take place entirely at the home ballpark of the first place team. And it's a best of seven, but the first place team gets one win automatically on paper before anything happens on the field. So that team that's in first place not only hosts the 6 games, they also only have to, again, technically win 2 and tie 1, but I guess 3 wins would do it, would make it a clean series win. What are your thoughts on the NPB playoff system? Because I know that especially, well, actually on both sides, like the Japanese have their own point of view of why they don't like it. And I think Americans that are kind of recent followers of NPB also have reasons they don't like it. But where do you stand on the NPB playoff system?
I like it. I mean, it gives more meaning to where you finish in the regular season, right? I mean,
Hmm.
winning, having the best record in Major League Baseball doesn't mean anything so much. You still have home field advantage in the playoffs, but you don't really have any other advantage. And you're not considered the pennant winner unless you go all the way to the World Series, right?
Right.
But in Japan, there's still that importance placed on finishing number one. And you do have that big advantage of you have one game up and you host all of the games at home.
Yeah.
So I love it. And then, I look at there's only 6 teams in each league, right? There was a really decent chance until the Baystars got hot that there could have been two 500 teams or under 500 teams making the playoffs in the Central League this year. Do you want them going all the way to the Japan series?
No.
Probably not, right? So I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
having them at a disadvantage, I think is good for the game.
Yeah, I think so too. Actually, personally, I would like to see them be a little bit creative and have kind of a sliding scale when it comes to the advantage.
Uh,
So, like, I'm
hmm,
looking specifically at my own team's history, but this year the Tigers won the Central by 13 games, and it could have been a lot more if they actually tried in the final 17 games of the year. But when they wrapped up the pennant with 17 games to go, they were 17 games up on second place, Giants. Um, so you look at that, and it's clear which team is the best. So
right.
I don't want a couple of lucky bounces or whatever to determine or to be the cause of that number one team not making it to the finals. I also don't want it to be automatic, but I do want there to be a significant advantage to a team that has won their league by, again, even if it's just 13, that's still significant. That's huge, right? Um, on the other hand, 4 years ago, the Tigers and the Swallows were tied for first, but the Swallows had a better winning percentage because when they calculate wins and losses, or wins, losses, and ties here, they just pull the ties out of the calculations altogether. So, like in some other leagues, in other sports, the tie counts as half a win and half a loss. But in NPB, it counts as nothing of nothing. And so the team with more
Right.
ties has a greater winning percentage, right? Unless they're below 500, then a team with more ties has a lower winning
Uh,
percentage.
right.
And so you're rewarding a team for tying more games, thereby losing fewer games. But it's not called a lose less games percentage. It's called a win
Winning
percentage.
percentage. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would rather see them reward the team with more wins. Well, anyways, the bottom line is that 2021 Swallows team won the pennant, which of course is a sore spot for me. But the fact that they got as great an advantage in the playoffs as the 2025 Hanshin Tigers will seems a little bit off to me.
Yeah, I think if you have more wins, yeah, it seems ridiculous. What there was a four wins separating them that year,
Yeah, I think so.
but yeah, and then the Tigers weren't the pennant winners. Yeah,
Well, and that year too, it was a bit of an aberration because they only play it was 2021, and so it was still COVID regulations, and I
right,
don't
right.
think they even played extra innings that year. So games that were tied after 9 innings were
Just
tied,
ended.
and there were
Mm.
tons of ties, and the Swallows had 8 more ties than the Tigers.
Yeah,
So
yeah. There must have been no extra. Looking at it now, yeah, the Giants had 20 ties that year. The Hawks had 21.
yeah, which is like 1/7 of your games.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. In contrast, this year's Tigers have 4 ties, so It's quite a difference.
The Swallows had 7 ties this year.
So they still out-tied the Tigers, but it doesn't matter this year. Good. Okay. Well, let's jump into the main course here. We want to talk about these upcoming series. For the record, they are starting on Saturday. What would that be? October the 11th?
That is the 11th, yes.
Right. So there'll be the 11th, 12th, and then the 13th if necessary. As we said, they're best of three series. And so let's go with the Central first.
Sure.
So we'll talk about the Giants going into Yokohama to face the Baystars. And I'm going to run down a few facts just so that we kind of know what we're looking at here. The Baystars finished the year 71, 66, and 6. The Giants finished three games behind them, 70, 69, and 4.
Yeah.
Head to head, the Giants were actually better. They went 15, 9, and 1 against the Baystars, including 7, 5, and 1 at Yokohama. So I don't know then what this means about home field advantage because the Giants were actually better in Yokohama than the Baystars.
To be fair, Yokohama is basically just Tokyo, right?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the crowd and so on, yeah, like it's the home field advantage wouldn't necessarily be a crowd thing. It would maybe be greater familiarity with the playing surface,
Yeah.
with the dimensions of the field, and then batting last. That's about it.
Right.
Right. So I don't know what either manager is thinking as far as who they're going to start in which games, but my best guess would be game one, we would see Iori Yamasaki against Katsuki Azuma.
Right.
They're kind of the two aces of their respective staffs. And
Actually,
then
today I read
okay.
Both managers actually announced who they're going to use
Oh,
this
so
series.
who is
But
it?
you were right. Correct. One is Azuma and Yamasaki.
Yeah.
And then manager Abe said that Togo would get the ball in game 2.
Yep, buddy. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yep.
And then
Against K, I would guess.
probably, yeah. Miura didn't say what the order would be, but probably K. And then for the Giants, it would be Yokogawa would start game 3.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And then obviously Andre Jackson would be the third
Right.
Baystars
Okay.
starter.
Yokogawa, who has not really gone deep this year because he started the year, I think, in the bullpen.
Yeah, he recently started pitching, stretching him out, but I don't think he could go very deep into a game.
Right. But I mean, obviously, if it does come down to a game three, it's all hands on deck. And so
That's
they're going to be
true.
throwing, everything at the Baystars. And, the Giants do have, especially at their back end, but even their bullpen on the whole is pretty strong.
The bullpen is very strong. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the starters, obviously the Baystars have a huge advantage.
Hmm.
Especially this year, Togo has not looked good. I think his ERA plus is what, 71 or something.
Yeah, he's struggled for sure. He's not his usual self, and I'm pretty happy about it. Yeah. Um, so what I'm seeing as far as key position players for the Giants, I mean, I'm not listing their whole lineup here, but basically
Right.
Okamoto, their third baseman, is obviously the key, right? And
Yeah,
then besides
he
him,
just came back from injury too, not too long
yeah,
ago.
and he's been pretty good since he's come back. So, um, got him, and then their top guy hitting for average as far as average goes is Izaguchi, their shortstop.
Mhm.
Trey Cabbage, I think, is an important piece. And then also leadoff hitter Yoshihiro Maru.
Right.
Those are probably my top four as far as who needs to perform well for them to succeed in the playoffs.
I agree with that. Yeah. If Okamoto is healthy, that's because outside of those four, I don't really have a lot of trust in their lineup.
Now, they've got some good names on paper, but they
They
haven't
haven't really
had a lot of
performed.
production. Yeah.
Mm,
So like you got Richard, who's been playing first base, who's really feast or famine, and a
yeah,
lot more famine than feast.
that's true.
So yeah. On the flip side though, the Baystars have a similar guy in Tsutsugo, right? Whose average is
Mm,
quite low, but when he does make contact, it seems to fly far.
it goes
So
very far.
for the Baystars, I've got Tsutsugo and then leadoff guy Kuwahara. Oh no, he's not leadoff guy now. Ebina is the leadoff guy, but Kuwahara I think
Mm,
is a key piece. And then I really think it's going to come down to the health of Tyler Austin and
mm.
Shugo Maki.
Yeah, Austin was just taken off the roster last week to rest him up for the series.
Hmm.
And then Maki has been out since what, the end of July?
Yeah, it's been a
But
while, yeah, but he's
but they are
apparently
sending him to the Phoenix League to prepare.
right. Yeah, so I mean, if he comes back, the other thing is like, when guys come back, it's really hard to know if they're going to be a good version of themselves or
Hmm.
not. You know what I mean? Because like he hasn't seen live pitching in forever.
Right.
And so going from no live pitching or very little, and then even to this Phoenix League where he's going to be seeing a lot of farm pitching,
Right.
right? To all of a sudden having to face the staff aces of the Giants. And again, we have said like, Togo hasn't been great, but nevertheless, going up against
Hmm.
Yamasaki is not going to be an easy feat. And
No.
then when we talk about the bullpen in a second, we'll see that even, in the later innings, it's not going to be easy to get on base or to hit the ball to the park.
But
So,
look at Murakami. He only saw farm pitching for a few months and then came back and was lighting lighting the world on fire. So
yeah, he sure was. He sure
maybe
was.
Maki can do the same thing.
You never know. And that's the big question mark, right? Like I was saying, is it going to be good Maki or is it going to be still not ready for facing good pitching Maki?
Mm.
Um,
I think even without Maki, I think the Baystars have a better lineup than the Giants.
I would agree with that as well. And the thing is, like, Maki's actually a pretty consistent hitter, probably more than anybody else in their lineup. Like, when he's in the lineup,
Mhm.
he tends to not go through really prolonged slumps. So, as far as the bullpen goes, I put down several guys actually for the Giants because, as we said, I think that's one of their strong points. But closer, Rydel Martinez, Taisei, the setup guy, and then they've got Nakagawa, who throws a lot, especially in lefty situations. Eito Tanaka, Funabasama, and even Kyle Keller has been getting quite a few innings and quite a few mounds as well. And then on the flip side, for the Baystars bullpen, I've got Taisei Irie, Hiromu Ise, I forget Miyagi, maybe Duda Miyagi, something like that. And then Wick, is it Michael Wick? I forget his first name.
Rowan Wick.
Rowan Wick, thank you. Yes. So I've got those as the main guys in their bullpen. But what are your thoughts, or do you have any thoughts about the two bullpens? Which one is better, and where there might be some soft spots?
I believe Rowan Wick is injured, and I'm not sure if he's going
Okay,
to make it for the CS.
that's interesting. So that would put maybe like Morihara as their
I
next guy
think, yeah,
up.
I've got Issei Miyagi and Morihara. They've also floated putting Fujinami in the pen.
Right.
Um, so I think, yeah, I mean, Rowan Wick was really almost untouchable. I think his ERA was 0.84. So losing him is a big blow to their bullpen.
Yeah.
And then, but I mean, Miyagi and Morihara seemed to perform well. And, I think, but I think the advantage has to go to the Giants bullpen.
Hmm.
Rydell Martinez just tied the Central League saves record at 46, along with his former teammate from the Dragons, Matsuyama.
Yep.
And then, yeah, Taisei led the league in hold points. They have, what, 7 relievers with more than 40 appearances. Yeah, I think because their starting is so weak, they've really built a strong bullpen.
Yeah, they've always been forced to. And, you know, in these types of situations where it's, win or go home, I have a feeling Abe is going to, pull the starter pretty
Oh,
quick
yeah.
if he sees things going south.
Yeah, he has to. He can't
Yeah.
afford not to.
Oh, for sure. So all that said and done, like, do you have any thoughts or any predictions about who you think is going to win or who's going to come through or who's going to tank or anything like that?
I think it's got to be the Baystars. This is really not that different from last year's team
Yeah.
that won it all. But I think they have the better starters, especially if even if the Giants win with Yamasaki, I don't think throwing Togo and then
Yokogawa.
Yokogawa out there. I don't know that that's the. I mean, they don't really have any other choices, but I don't think it's a winning strategy. And then with Miura announcing he's going to step down, maybe the Baystars are feeling a little extra motivated to give him another victory. before he leaves.
Yeah, sure, sure. I'm leaning towards that as well. Like I think the Baystars are probably going to take the Giants, and I think they'll do it in 2 games.
2 games. I was thinking three. Yeah, 2 games would be fun too.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I mean, truth be told, I'll go on record as saying this. Like, I'm actually kind of rooting for the Giants here because I think they make for a better match against the Tigers.
Yeah,
It's also more satisfying as a Tigers fan to see the
you,
Tigers beat the Giants in the playoffs than the
I
Tigers
was
beating the
thinking that
Baystars.
too. I think the Baystars can beat the Giants, but I think the Giants are a much easier team for the Tigers to beat, and would be
Absolutely.
way more satisfying for Tigers fans.
100% with you on that. All right, so that's the breakdown of the Central. Let's get into the Pacific. And I'm going to let you take over because you follow it a little bit more closely than I do, or a lot more closely than I do. So why don't you run down like this, the matchup between the Fighters and the Buffaloes, and I'll just fill in wherever I see the need, but there may not be much that I have to say.
Sure. So the Fighters, second place, obviously they went 83, 57, and 3, and the Buffaloes 74, 66, and 3. But their head-to-head record 12, 12, and 1. So against each other, they seem evenly matched, but since the end of June, the Buffaloes have been 36 and 37. So they have a negative run differential of 17. So that minus 17. So I think advantage has to go to the Fighters based on that alone. Plus, they're going to be in Escon Field, which is, I think, a big home field advantage for the Fighters. And then for starting pitchers, for the Fighters, you've got Hiroya Miyagi. And then I think Alan Curry is probably going to be their number 2. And number 3, well, actually, I'm not sure who number 3 would be.
What about Espinoza?
Espinoza, oh my gosh, I started listening to Buffalo's Fighters, the pitchers. Yeah, for the Buffaloes, yeah, it would be Miyagi, Curry, and maybe Espinoza.
Or what
But he
about like
left.
Shunpei Yamashita?
So Espinoza, yeah, it's definitely going to be Shunpei Yamashita, who I think is the wild card and the key to the series
Mhm.
for the Fighters. Miyagi and Curry have been great all year, but outside of that, Espinoza hasn't been that great this year, and he's currently injured. But Yamashita came back, pitched 3 starts, just looked amazing. He can throw 100, struck out 30 and 19 and 2/3 innings. So having him back, I think, sort of tips the scale towards the Buffaloes a little bit.
Mhm.
And then for the Fighters, you've got Ito as the staff ace, Kitayama, and then potential Rookie of the Year winner, I think Kota Tatsu might go in game 3.
Yeah, it would be him, or maybe I don't know if they
The
go with the veteran
Yamasaki.
Takayuki Kato.
Mm. So Kato hasn't looked that great this year.
No, he hasn't.
And I was thinking maybe they might also go with Yamasaki.
Yeah, that would be
But
interesting
yeah,
against
I
his
think
old
he just
mates.
recently just got removed from the roster and then came back and pitched out of the pen. So I'm not really sure where he's at.
It's interesting. The fighters have a lot of options as far as who they would want to throw into that
Right.
shortened rotation in the first round.
Yeah, interesting. So Ito, right, overall 14 and 8 with a 2.52 ERA,
Hmm.
but actually struggled at home at Escon Field.
Oh, interesting.
He's
I didn't know
3 and 5 with a 3.64 ERA.
that. Wow.
So maybe not as strong as he looks on paper.
So
But
yeah.
then on the flip side, Kitayama was 6 and 1 at home with a 1.80 ERA. So
S- Wow. So that's actually like that's going to make for interesting dynamics. Obviously, like we can't just plug numbers in from the regular season and assume they'll be the same in the playoffs, but
right,
it
right,
is somewhat of an indication, right, of what could happen. Or like just maybe Ito is not as comfortable on that mound. You know what I mean?
right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I'm glad that you pointed that out. Because I mean, Ito, I think is if anyone's going to win the Sawamura Award this year, it's going to be him.
I know he came short. He didn't pick up the win yesterday.
Right. So he
and
missed the 15 wins,
he's stuck at 14 wins. Yeah,
right? But it'll depend. Like I really feel like some of those old guys get stuck on that stat and they'd be like, yeah, he didn't reach 15 wins, but he came pretty close to 200 innings and
right.
nobody else is anywhere near, right? He ended up with 6 complete games, which is more than anybody else. And I know the benchmark is 10, but nobody's
Mhm.
thrown 10 complete games in like 5 years, I don't think. So anyhow, I'll be interested to see if it is Ito versus Miyagi in that game one.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a barn burner right there. That's gonna be just the game that you have to watch, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Miyagi was 2-0 in at ESCOM this year. So small sample size, but I think yeah, that's a really good matchup.
Cool. Who have you got as the key players, the position players for the Buffaloes and for the Fighters?
For the Buffaloes, uh, they just lost Nishikawa, Ryoma Nishikawa, not too long ago
Right, yeah.
to a fractured shin. So I think they're going to miss him. But if Kurabayashi, he hit over 400 at ESCON and 333 against the Fighters overall this year. So if he can keep that up, that's a big get for the Buffaloes. And then they have some power, Sugimoto, Tongu, but I think yeah, Kurabayashi is probably my pick for key bat in that lineup. What about you?
Well, I would say even like Ota reached 10 home runs today.
Well,
Like he
that is
got double
true.
digits, which 10 doesn't sound like a lot, but actually this year,
In
double
this year in
digits is
NPB,
actually,
that is a huge, yeah,
yeah, yeah. And then I also have Keita Nakagawa as another guy that I think could play an important role.
of course. And then of course Wakatsuki, right, the catcher for the Buffaloes, is
Yep.
also
Yep.
a really
I-
important part of their offense.
Indeed. Indeed.
But talking about the Buffaloes have maybe the worst defense in the league compared to the Fighters who have maybe the best defense in the league. So I
Hmm.
think even even with their offensive capabilities, I think it's really going to come down to how well they play defense for the Buffaloes.
Yeah, that's as a Tigers fan, like when I hear about good and bad defenses, like I often will consider the playing surfaces that they're on, but actually
Mhm.
most of the PL is domes, right? And so they're fairly stable conditions that they're playing in, except if they're in Sendai or I guess in Chiba, right?
Right. But
Yeah.
the Buffaloes play, their home stadium is, of course,
Yeah, exactly,
a
right?
dome. So,
They should in theory, although it doesn't only come down to that. I mean, there's a lot of
right.
fundamentals that
Hmm.
um they would play bad no matter where you're playing. And so I see what you're saying though. Like I mean they really don't have anyone that I would look at and say, now that's an outstanding defender, except maybe Yuma Mune at
Hmm.
third. But even him, like he'll make outstanding plays and then sometimes he'll commit errors on plays that he has no business committing errors on.
Yeah, it'll
So
be
what about the
interesting.
fighters? Who have you got as the key hitters and position players for them?
It's got to come down to my former MVP hopeful before
On
the Fighters lost the pennant, Franmil Reyes.
Franmil Reyes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but he went down with a heel injury a few weeks ago. But if he's fully healthy, his bat is one of the most dangerous in Japan right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Shun Mizutani, right? His second year looked good again in limited playing time, but struggled with Orix pitching in 11 games. His OPS was 496 compared to 795 overall.
Hmm.
So I think they're going to need him to be able to hit like he did every other team. And then, of course, Manami, I think he has so much potential, but he hasn't quite reached it.
Hmm.
But I love watching him play.
Yeah, and then one or a couple more. Like, what about Kiyomiya? I think he's actually finally put together a somewhat solid full season. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I
You
right?
are not drawn on that. Yeah. Who I think was he? He was in the home run derby too, I think.
I believe so. Yeah.
And yeah, for I think honestly the Fighters have a pretty scary lineup overall, even with Kiyomiya and Manami, and Gunji is
Gunji, yeah,
another.
I was going to mention him
Yeah,
as well. Yeah.
he's another bat for them. But let's see.
Yeah, it looks like Kiyomiya finished second in hits.
He did, and he had 12 home runs, which again is huge in NPB right now.
Yeah, just to put it in perspective, like that's ninth in the league in the
Yeah.
Pacific, right? So him and Mizutani both had 12, as did Nakagawa for Orix.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Franmil
contrast,
Reyes
Reyes
led the
hit
league.
32.
Yeah, he led the league with 32.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Let's look at the bullpens a little bit. What do you see coming out of the Buffalo's bullpen? The closer is Machado, right?
Machado was the closer there. Yeah, he
Right.
still
And
looks lights out this year.
right. Who else have they got that you think that they use in these high leverage situations?
They've been going to Perdomo all year. He leads the team in hold points. He's at
Hmm.
33 holds, but the second half he maybe was battling an injury. He looked a lot more vulnerable. But coming out, um, Saito Kaiki and Sho Iwasaki seem to emerge out of the bullpen in the second half. So I think they're going to be key to holding the fighters' bats at bay if their starters should falter.
Hmm.
But they have very good, strong starting pitching.
I also noticed that they are leaning on Yamaoka, which kind of surprises me because he's been really inconsistent and not nearly as good as he used to be in his
Yeah, that
prime.
is. Yeah, I didn't mention him because yeah, he's not as good as he used to be. But in such a short series, I think you really have to just try to ride your hot hands.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
because of
use
the
the same
starting,
guys every game if you need to, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
and especially because, like you said, their starting pitching should be able to go deep into a game. You ideally wouldn't really need to use anybody other than Machado
right.
for the ninth.
Yeah, I mean they do have guys that are capable of throwing complete games, right? So they had, let me see, Curry threw a couple. Well, Tajima, who probably won't get a start in this one, he threw a couple. So there are definitely guys there. Miyagi's capable, although I don't think he threw any
I
this
think
year.
he did this year.
Right. But they definitely have guys that are able, and so they may be able to lean a little bit more on the rotation than the fighters.
Yeah,
Although didn't the fighters lead the league in they did. They led the league in complete games. So you got Ito with 6, Kitayama with 4, uh Kanemura with Kanemura with 4, and then Kato had 3.
Tatsu had three as well.
So and Yamazaki had 2. So they definitely have starters that can go quite deep. So they may not use many of their bullpen arms as you might think, but let's name a few anyways. So is their closer still Seiji Tanaka, or has he kind of lost that role?
I feel like they sort of split closer duties this year. Um,
And Tanaka leads the team with 13,
and
right?
then yeah, and then Yanagawa had 11.
Right.
I don't know if uh, Tanaka lost the closer role or not, but um, either way, or no, yeah, Yanagawa was injured
Hmm.
last month and taken off the roster, so I think Tanaka still is the closer, or at
Right.
least
But then
regained the
Yukiya
closing
Saito
position.
was used a few times in that role.
You're right.
Yeah. Saito, as many of my listeners may know, he's a former Hanshin Tiger. Um, and he remains the only player still on the team from that. It was a 2-for-2 trade. We have since cut the 2 guys that we got, and they also cut one of the 2. Egoshi is no longer a professional baseball player. Um, so Saito's the only one remaining, and actually he's throwing really hard, like he's getting up to 160. His control is still not great, but it's better than it was when he was with the Tigers. So, I mean, those 3 though, right? Tanaka and Saito and Yanagawa all have ninth inning experience,
Yeah.
so that may come in handy.
We also have Kenta Uehara, who's got 13 holds on the year. And
Right.
who
They also
else
have
is there?
Tamai, who they've used a
Tamai.
lot.
Yeah, he's seen a lot of action this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Fighters definitely have a better bullpen.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the managers decide to employ the pitchers that they have. And especially in this case where, as we know, right, like it's a 3 game series and you have to win this in order to stay alive. But at the same time, you've got the SoftBank Hawks waiting.
Yeah.
So if you kind of burn through too much of your bullpen too early, then you're really leaving yourself in a vulnerable position against a very hard team. So, anyways, what do you think? What's going to happen in this series? Is it going to be the Fighters or is it going to be the Buffaloes?
I think because it is in Hokkaido, I expect the Fighters to win. And I think it's going to come down to beating the Buffalo's bullpen.
Interesting, interesting. Okay. I kind of feel like the Fighters, I mean, they were still okay towards the end of the season. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in September slash, I guess, including their one October game, they were 13 and 11 in that final month. But like their best the best part of the season for them was probably May, June, July. And since
Yeah.
then, they've kind of taken a bit of a step back as a team. So I'm actually predicting that the Buffaloes are going to surprise them. I think it'll take 3 games, but I think the Buffaloes are going to advance.
Yeah, I mean, they have been evenly matched all year, right? 12, 12, and 1 head to
Yeah.
head against each other.
Yeah. And even at ESCON, it's a 7-6, I think, in favor of the Fighters. So there's that 1 game advantage, right? Could come in handy. Okay, so you've got the Fighters and the Baystars advancing. I've got the Buffaloes and the Baystars advancing. But the big question now, the final question that we're going to kind of discuss here briefly is, are either of those teams good enough to take down the Tigers or the Hawks respectively?
I think no. In a word, no. I mean, the Hawks, last year they won what 91 games, and then they were embarrassed in the Japan series
But they
by
won
the
the first
seven.
2 games of the Japan series too. So it actually, like, as I was watching, I was like, oh, this series is done. I think it was the
And
first 2 games anyways. And then
they
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 lost
did,
4 straight.
yeah, including three straight at home.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And then the final game was a huge blowout. I think it was 11-2.
Yeah.
And of course, the Baystars only had 71 wins last year.
Yeah.
And at the time, Kokobo looked kind of outmatched. And then they started off this season, like I said earlier, they got swept at home by the Marines, finished April 9 and 15. But then ever since, they've had the best record in Japan.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how strong the Hawks have been, and it's hard to imagine them getting beat by anyone. Um, yeah, after their 9-15-2 start in March, April, their worst winning percentage was 625 in any given month. So that's saying something. That's pretty strong. Um, and I think them playing in Fukuoka and having Yanagita back.
He hit another home run today.
Yep. So he's got 4 in his limited time back, right? And they're probably just going to DH him, which is fine. Um, is Kondo healthy?
No,
So
but he was taken off, I think, the other day. They're trying to get him ready for the CS along with Shuto, who also has battled injuries this year.
okay, well,
So if they're not healthy, I think then you can say, yeah, maybe they can be beat. But
yeah, but when I look at that starting rotation and especially that front 4 in their rotation, oh man, what a
yeah,
headache they're going to cause for any team that has to go into Fukuoka and try to beat Moinello and Arihara and Uwasawa and Ozeki.
I think the weakest link is Arihara, and he pitched well against the Marines today. But I
Uh-huh.
think if any of those pitchers are beatable, it's definitely Arihara. But yeah, Moinello, maybe league MVP.
Hmm.
Um, I think Ozeki had the highest winning percentage in the Pacific League. Yeah, their rotation is good.
So, you know, I think I'm probably going to do something of a um, series preview, at least Central League, when it comes to whatever team against the Tigers. But looking at the Pacific, like I'm pretty much ready to give the Hawks the ticket to the Japan series.
Yeah, I think, maybe the fighters can put up a fight. They head to head they're 13 and 12 in favor of the Hawks,
Uh,
but I think the Hawks, you just have to give it to them. Ever since the start of this century, they've been the most successful team in Japan.
yeah, and this year they battled through all sorts of crazy injuries. You also look at them and you're like, oh, they're getting old or whatever, right? You look at like Akira Nakamura or even like Hotaga Yamakawa or some
Hmm.
of these names that have been around forever, but they've also got these young guys coming through. Like Yanagi Machi comes out of nowhere or
Yeah,
seemingly out of
he
nowhere and is
led the
actually,
league in on base percentage. Yamakawa actually hit a grand slam today, so.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he hit 23, I think, home runs this year. Good for second in the
Hmm.
league, but yeah, they're just a good team. Um, I really feel like they are kind of the Dodgers because they've picked up a lot of players from other teams,
Hmm.
either players that were not wanted or just players that only they could afford.
There's
Um,
players that went to the majors, couldn't quite hack it, came back to Japan and signed with the Hawks.
yep, yep. Much to the chagrin of Shinjo and the Fighters.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking on the other side though, in the Central, can anybody beat the Tigers? You know what? I hate to say it, and maybe this is just the fan in me that has seen a lot of heartbreak. I mean, I think the Tigers are beatable simply because um, looking at those other two teams, right? The Giants, they've just always had our number. Like, okay, look at our regular season, we smashed them, whatever. But just as far as history goes, there are very few times in history that you would say, yeah, we showed them or we outdid them when it really mattered. 2014 playoffs may be the exception, but there's always just that kind of like worry about the Giants. And then with the Baystars, I mean, they've come in, and I know it's first round stuff, but they beat us at Koshien in 2017. They beat us at Koshien also last year.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah. And then the Tigers also lost to the Giants at Koshien in the first round in 2021. So home field advantage, while it sounds like the greatest thing, especially with Koshien fans, the Tigers have a history of losing while being the hosts of these playoff series.
Mhm.
So I'm a bit worried, but I still want to say with confidence, yeah, the Tigers have got this.
Are you worried at all? You kind of alluded to it. Ever since they clinched, they kind of been coasting. Are you worried at all about them being prepared?
You know what? I not really. Not really. Because I really like what Fujikawa's done with the team. And I feel like he's a pretty good motivator. I feel like he's just a smart manager that is going to use the right players in the right times. And I feel like he's going to get them ready. So I don't really, yeah, I wouldn't say that their losing could be attributed to the fact that they weren't ready. It might just be that the Bay Stars come in red hot, or the Giants or whoever it might be. I guess like the one consoling thing that we have going for us in this second round is that, you know, at the very least, early in that series, we won't be facing Azuma or Kei
Right.
or Yamasaki or Togo. So we'll be
Yeah,
going against kind of their second tier of
it might be
starters.
it might be Trevor Bauer,
Yeah, and
which would be
that's
very
not so
good
bad.
news. Yeah.
I'd be surprised if they use him, to be honest. I mean, they have young unproven pitchers like is it Takeda, and even there's a couple other guys that just kind of made their debuts and actually did quite well. So I wouldn't be surprised if they threw those guys in instead of
Yeah, I can't
T-Bow.
imagine him being a,
Yeah.
a
So
high priority for them.
yeah, for sure. Well, we've talked a lot of just kind of like objectively, what do these teams look like and all that stuff. But do you have a team that you're rooting for now that your Marines are not in this, or are you just kind of watching out of curiosity, or are you not going to watch much?
Oh, I'm gonna watch. I think I'm gonna root for the fighters.
All right, that's fair. They're my PL team. Like if I had to cheer for any Pacific League team, it would be the Fighters. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't root for the Hawks, so it's got
No,
to be
understandably.
fighters.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, Thomas, it's been great talking to you. We should probably land the plane pretty soon here, though. I hope our listeners enjoyed just our banter and kind of getting caught up on what they're going to be seeing this weekend if they are tuning in to the first round or the first stage of the Climax series. And as I said, I'm hoping to be back for part two of this, previewing the final stage. And I don't know if I'm going to look at the Pacific League because I'm going to be so focused on the Tigers. But I really
Of
enjoyed having
course.
you on this program, and we'll definitely be in touch. We'll be doing more stuff in the future, right?
Yeah, of course. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, excellent. Well, enjoy your playoff baseball, everyone. We'll catch you next time.